Welcome to the Home Recorded Music Podcast. Thank you for listening, liking, and subscribing. This show is all about music recording tips, tricks, and super talented musicians. In today's episode, I'm speaking with the one and only guitar firecracker and musical knowledge wizard from the bands like Smug Goat, Brune, and Wretch, among many other projects, my longtime best mate and special guest, Bob Harvey. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Shane. That was a hell of an intro, mate.
Yeah, you like that? God, you got some amps going there. Wow.
Yeah, I've been acquiring. I've been acquiring, mate.
You're a collector. Now, if you're just tuning in and you have never watched this podcast before and you want to know more about mine and Bob's friendship and a lot of other things that we've already discussed, there is a previous episode 3. So if you want to go back and check that out, then we don't have to go back over all that stuff again. I want to just go straight into something that we talked about last time, but I cut it from the video, and it was about a tour that you did with Wretch.
Are you talking about the European tour with Wretch?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, back in 2016, long story short, we were offered a spot to play at this amazing extreme music festival called Obscene Extreme Fest. It's held in this little town called Trutnov in the north of the Czech Republic, right near the Polish border. Funnily enough, the town actually reminded me of Jindabyne. It's very, very similar kind of place. And it's a ski town in winter, but in summer, they don't really have a lot going on. So this festival just kind of rocks in, and there's about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 crusty punks and grindcore fans that they come from all over the world, and they converge on this place called the Battlefield. There's this amazing festival put on by one of the most genuinely rad human beings I think I've ever had the privilege of knowing. His name's Chirby, and he's put on this festival now. It's been going for over 20 years, and what he does is he gets bands from all over the world, different styles, but extreme music, but different styles, and puts on this festival. And it's just like, it's about 5 days from memory. It goes from like lunchtime to into the early hours of the morning each day. It's just wild. And you go there and there's amazing beer and amazing food. Oh my God, the merch. Oh, you've never seen so many cool shirts and, patches and all of this stuff you can buy. And it's just people hanging out, having a good time, watching extreme music. There's stage diving. There's all sorts of stuff. Wretch were afforded the opportunity to go over there and play in 2016 and share the bill with bands like Sodom, who else was in there? Brugeria, Venomous Concept, Lock Up, Rotten Sound, Melt Banana. Insect Warfare reformed for this, and that was a huge deal. So that they played it as well. And we got to meet all of these guys. And we sat side stage watching our heroes. We all had those kind of moments. Everything was great. The tour itself, we did a few shows. We did one in Sweden, in Stockholm. We did one in Czech Republic. We did in Flammen, Hellish Garden Party is what it was called, in this little town called Torgau in Germany. There was about 2,500, 3,000 people at that festival. That was cool. And then we played another one in Austria, but Austria was just, I don't know. It was like the end of the tour. We had a shit time getting there, and by the time we got there, we were just about at the end of like our patience. And then when we got there, basically we didn't have a real good time in Austria, and we drove 19 hours out of Austria to get back to Rostock. If you look at a map of Vienna and then go all the way up to the north coast of Germany, there's a place called Rostock. That's what we call the ferry back to Stockholm. It's about 19 and a half hours. We drove straight, so we didn't have to stop and didn't have to think about Austria again. So we didn't have a good time there, but all in all, the experience was fantastic. We met so many people, and it afforded us, the chance to showcase our music overseas, which was huge. And we made a lot of friends over there. We still stay in touch with as well. So
that sounds awesome, man. So that would have been just a great thing for your band to bond and to really, like a good experience for the Wretch.
Yeah, it was awesome, and like being on tour, it was like 17 or 18 days from go to woe. We were stuck in this van, and our Swedish friend Palmer, he was driving in his van because he's got the diabetes. He was driving us in this it was like a Taraga kind of thing. It was just 6 of us. It was just a brown air factory, that thing. It stunk so bad. But it was just all of us in this van, for 18 days. And then, close quarters. It was pretty full on, but, it was fun. I'd definitely do it again.
Hell yeah. Right now, speaking of Wretch, the band that you went on tour with there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have put out an album.
We've recorded an album and it's available for pre-release now through Downtuned Records.
Okay.
You can buy pre-release. You can pay pre-release for the vinyl. It drops on the 22nd of July from memory, I think is when it's available. Now, it takes about 3 or 4 months from the request to press to when you get it because so many people want vinyl now because it's such a popular thing. So, and towards the end of July is when it's available. The physical copies will be available. But yeah, we've got an album coming out. It's pretty exciting. It's called Survival of the Rotten.
Nice. Great title. Where did you record this album?
So we went up to, we approached a few different studios. We wanted a different experience than the last one. We went up to Brisbane, up to our mate Adam in Studio Andes to be his last time. He's up in the north side of Brisbane. Really good guy. Amazing studio. Really, really clean, clear, amazing like sound that we got out of there. But we wanted to try something a little bit different because the band had kind of progressed a little bit style-wise. So we're like, well, surely there's someone a bit closer to home. So some friends of ours in a local band here called Kid Presentable recorded a single at this studio in Kurnell, which is like Cronulla, that sort of area of Sydney. This studio called Deaf Wolf Studios. They use this bloke, Tom. I always forget how to say his last name. Sigil, I think it is. Segal. It's Sigil. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Sigil or Sigil. I can see the spelling. I can't remember how. Tom, please, I love you. Don't be upset. But he recorded it for us in this amazing studio. The drum room was just insanely good. We spent 5 days in there recording. Yeah, it was a hoot. There was a lot of swearing, a lot of swearing, a lot of farting. But a lot of riffs and a lot of blast beats. So it was awesome. It was a great experience.
Did you guys demo the songs before you went in?
So I'll preface this. Before we recorded Tirades, the album that we did in 2015, the other guitarist in the band, Naif, he's always had his own kind of recording setup. So much so that he recorded and mixed most of the previous album before that, Because You're Worthless, in his little home studio and stuff. So he used to, he still does. He writes demos with guitar tracks and programmed drums and kind of sends them out to us and says, "Here you go, have a listen. We'll tweak it in the rehearsal room." So when we got back from recording Tirades, I thought, it's probably a good idea for me to do it. So I went out and I bought a new computer. I bought an interface. I bought Pro Tools. Bought Easy Drum. I got all of this stuff to help me get started and be able to do the same thing Nave did, where I was writing demos that I could send to everyone. Fast forward 7 years, there's probably I filled up Dropbox like 3 times. I've nearly filled up Google Drive. There are so many songs out there in there now between in the 7 years that I've had in my recording setup. So I did the majority of the pre-production for this album, Survival of the Rotten, I did myself. So I programmed drums, tempo maps for the songs for recording, recorded the guide tracks for the drums, did all of that stuff. And then when we got to the studio, it was a fairly easy process to be able to record from there because we kind of recorded to what the demos were we wrote the demos, rehearsed them, tweaked them slightly, re-recorded the demos, and then sent them off for the recording process.
That's awesome. And what program are you using to do this?
So Pro Tools and Easy Drummer Drummer, like they only just updated it 2 weeks ago or something. They announced Easy Drummer 3, so I'm very keen to get a hold of that. So Easy Drummer and Pro Tools, and then I've got, as you can see, I've got a bunch of amps behind me. I've got an isolation cab wired in under my house as well, so I can use these. I've got Helix, I've got all sorts of stuff, all sorts of plugins and things for recording. So it's just whatever I grab, I just use, sort of thing. There's no consistency to it really. A lot of the pre-production demos were written using my Kemper as well. I used to have a Kemper, and that was a great tool. I probably shouldn't have sold it, but it was a great tool.
Where would people find Easy Drummer?
Go to Toon Track, so TOON Track. You get on there, and it's literally Easy Drummer. You get on there, you buy the basic kit, and then there'll be like a jazz and a metal and reggae, and then there's like different artist packs and things, and it's just blocks of 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars, and you can manipulate sounds and times and all sorts of stuff. But it's super simple to get around.
And are you programming them, or are you tapping them in with the keyboard?
A bit of everything. I use a bit of everything, Shane. So I will if there's a beat that, like, I'm not going to sit there and tap in blast beats. That sucks. Sure. Yeah. But, they come in the thing, so that makes it a bit easier. But I can shape and manipulate the accents of blast beats. I can, I can change fills. I can change power hands. All those sorts of things I do. I can click in drum beats when I need to.
What is a blast beat?
Oh, man, you put me on the spot now. What is a blast beat? I feel like I'm going to get hammered for this because I'm going to say it wrong. It's fast as you can play. Like, it's the fastest the drummer can play. There's different variations of blasts. You've got hammer blast, you've got bomb blast, you've got gravity blast. There's all sorts of different blasts. It's basically the easiest example is kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. Right. And you go as fast as you can, alternating, and then you get the ones where it's at the same time. There's all sorts. But it's basically the fastest. I would say it's probably the fastest and hardest beat to try and get around because it's pretty confronting. When you're not used to a blast beat, it's like, whoa, what is going on? And it jars a lot of people. I think that's why people don't really like death metal. That and the vocals kind of put people off a bit. Mm-hmm. But it's a pretty jarring thing. It's my favorite thing, though. I love it.
Hell yeah. For anyone out there, as Bob said, you can get that from Toontrack, and there's many ways that you can record drums. As Bob said, you can tap it in, you can program it in, you can even get an electric drum kit these days, and it runs from MIDI. It's just straight USB, and you can just go,
Easy Drummer actually integrates with Rollin, like MIDI drum kits and stuff, and you can change the sound and manipulate sounds and things through there as well.
And I mean, just like I picked up the cheapest of cheap drum kits, an electric drum kit, $200 on special from Kmart, and it's got the smallest brain on it, and it's got the terrible in brain sounds, but you go straight out of that USB and straight into your computer, and then you open up the world of having any drum kit that from anyone in the world that you want, which I think is a pretty amazing piece of technology.
It's crazy, isn't it? To think like back when we were kids, man, back when we were teenagers, like how hard it was to record your own music, how difficult it was. And now it's like, I can come out here to where I am at the back of my house here. I can come out here, turn on my computer, load up Pro Tools, turn on my Helix, and then I can start. It's all there ready to go. It's the convenience factor now is insane. So I kind of wish I'd gotten on board a bit earlier.
Pro Tools is out there for anyone interested. It's more kind of the expensive program. There are cheaper options. If you go online and just type in free recording programs, you'll be able to find anything. There is no excuse these days. Reaper,
that's like. Reaper's like the free version. It's pretty much based on Pro Tools from what I understand of it. I've never actually used it, but I know a lot of people swear by Reaper. I've been on Pro Tools since day one, since I bought my first computer and interface, and I'm probably looking at changing from Pro Tools to Studio One, the PreSonus software. I'm going to have a look at that because there's a couple of guys at work are making rumblings about how much better it is than Pro Tools, and I'm like, well, maybe I should have a look into this and see what it's like.
What's your go-to pedal for Wretch at the moment? Do you have a particular one, or is there a particular line of pedals that you have?
There's probably a few pedals that I kind of use. I hate saying the word exclusively because it makes me sound like a wanker. but there's a few pedals that I use and swear by, and the main one is it's by a company called KSR, and they do this pedal called the Eros. It's a boost EQ, and it's kind of like an overdrive, but it's way gnarlier, and it's got way more EQ control and stuff. It's awesome. So I use that. I've got 5 pedal boards, 5 separate pedal boards, and I've got 3 Eros. One on my Wretch board, so that's my boost in front of whatever amp I use behind me here or whatever I've got, and then the other one I've got is the Fortin Zool noise gate. I love noise gates, and up until early this year, maybe late last year, the Fortin Zool was the best I'd tried. I've got another one by a company called Licklam Audio. They're a hand-built boutique German company. I've got the Licklam Audio. It's called the Key and Gate, and then I've got their ambient reverb called the Transcendence, and that pedal is off its head, that reverb. It is wild. Favorite pedals, man. I love this. My absolute favorite overdrive is just the cheap Boss SD1. I swear by SD1. I think it is just, it works for everything. I can plug it into a Marshall or a Rector or my 5150, whatever I've got, and it just sounds rad. The other one that I swear by is my Zach Wild wah pedal. I've got 4 of them. So I had one and it lasted me 9 years and it broke and couldn't be fixed. So I bought another one. And then about a year after I bought that, they discontinued the line. So I've just been, anytime I see one online, I just buy it now. So I've got about 4. So that should see me out, right? 10 years out of a pedal, it should see me out if I've got 4, right?
Sure. That's a good theory. Yeah.
So I've got a few gnarly sort of pedals as well. I've got things like I've got an old Rat, like the old Proco Rat from the early 90s. It's like 91.
Yeah, no, I was actually looking at getting a wah pedal. I was only thinking about that tonight. So I might take your suggestion on the one that you've got if you reckon it's the bomb.
Yeah, man. Look, wah is, I guess, preface here for the people that don't know, I work in a music shop. I sell guitars and amps and things for a living. That's what I do. And the wah pedal is always my favorite pedal to sell because I always tell people it's the only pedal that teaches feel. Mm-hmm. So it'll teach a percussive feel. So you think of like the start of, Nutbush City Limits, or you think of like Bulls on Parade, that wow, wow.
Sure.
It teaches percussive feel, but also teaches expressive feel. So when the pedal is on, but the pedal is closed, you're at your start note. And by the time the pedal is fully open, you should be bent up to the note you want to be at. So you think about like that kind of sound, it teaches you to bend properly and teaches you to intonate properly. It's the only pedal that does it. So it's an amazingly versatile and super useful pedal.
Yeah, that's awesome. With the recording of the new Wretch album, what did you learn that you didn't know before?
That's a really good question. I feel like I get something out of everything I ever do. I get something out of. 2 things come to mind. Number 1, how important pre-production is. When you go to record and you're spending money in a studio, you've got to be prepared. You've got to make sure your songs are right, your tempos are right, your performances are going to be right. You shouldn't be struggling to get to a part, or you shouldn't be nervous about recording a particular part. So preparation, making sure you're ready to go. The other one is the classics, man. The classics. When it comes to recording, the classics. Recording metal, it's, there's so many amplifiers out there now, that are boutique versions of this, or, like a frothy version of that, or whatever. Man, we recorded with a rectifier, a 5150, the classic amplifiers. They're the sounds that are in our heads. When we grew up listening to music, those are the sounds in our heads. There's a few particular amps. And as cool as it is to have all of this new gear and this fandangled, boutique gear and whatever, sometimes the classics just work. They're standard backline for a reason, like a 5150 or a rectifier or a JCM 800 or those sorts of things. They're backline for a reason. Use them because they just work. Sometimes you're not going to get the sound you want out of the gear you've got.
Absolutely. I think that's really relevant. I think that's relevant across the board. People get caught up, with like recording and they're like all these different plugins and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can do that and that's great. And it's good to learn different plugins and all that. But the straightforward thing is you want to have a good take, you want to have a good performance, and and when you say classics, straight away I think of like an SM58 or something like that that's been around for the dawn of time.
Exactly right, man. And all of the music that we listened to, everything we listened to was almost all of it, I would say, it was written on the classics.
Yeah.
The sounds in our head, like. I'm not sure if you can see from here, but that amp up there, Marshall up there, I bought that for my birthday this year. Right. And that amp is the sound of I know this sounds dumb, but it's the sound of my childhood. When I was a kid, the 8100 was the sound of Morrisound Studios. That's early Sepultura, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Morbid Angel, Napalm Death, Terrorizer. It's that sound. It's that amp. And I'd always wanted one. So I'm like, well, you know what? It's a classic. It's going to help me when I go to reamp and stuff. I can put that in. And it's going to sound amazing. And I bought it and I plugged it in and it's like, oh man, it just took me back. I was just like, it just had this big shit-eating grin on my face. I took it into work and showed the dudes at work. And one of the guys was so enamored with it. He's like, he must have played guitar for maybe 45 minutes just riffing out. I go, bro, it just sounds like that sound. That's it. Yeah, we're all gushing over it. And it's like, it's a cheap amp, dude. It's not even like an expensive Marshall. It's just a sound that we know and is so familiar to us.
That's awesome, Bob. I'm really glad that you got that, and it makes me happy that you're happy to get that too. Once the album's out, obviously, that's the future because it's coming, and you'll have to promote that and all that kind of jazz. But what do you see the future of Wretch or Bob?
Future of Wretch, we're forging ahead. So some of the songs that didn't make it to this album, we've still got, and we're sort of tweaking slightly, and we're going to use them. I have so many songs to pull from that we can learn. So we've got another 5-10 songs ready to go for another recording, which is another album. Heaps of other stuff to go as well. So with Wretch, that's what's happening with Wretch. We're still forging ahead. We're writing, and the plan is for me to actually start recording now. I'll keep pushing with Wretch until it's not a thing anymore. It's my baby. You know, like Nath and Duncan and I started the band in 2011. So yeah, this is our 11th year as a band.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll still keep going. Benji and I, so Benji's the vocalist in Wretch. We've started another band called Street Trash.
Right.
And it's very, very much along the lines of like suicidal tendencies, DRI, The Exploited, Anti-Cymex, that sort of crossover thrashy punk stuff. But it's all based on B-grade movies, like old John Carpenter movies and trauma films and stuff, all of that, you know. So everything's based on that, but it's just good, fun music. So plan is to record and release with that as well. So other than that, I've got to try and build this studio in my house, like actually build it, and keep acquiring gear. More microphones is the thing now. I'm going to get more microphones.
On that note, Bob, can we shout out your socials? How do we find Wretch? How do we find you? How do we pre-order this album, etc., etc.?
Okay, so first things first, the best thing, if I can get anyone that watches this to pre-order the Wretch album, Survival of the Rotten, that'd be fantastic. My socials, man, find me. I'm Lightning McQueembian, Twitter and Instagram. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook anymore, so I'm on there just as Bob Harvey. Yeah, find me. I don't do much.
Sure,
just scour Marketplace. It's pretty much all I do.
And you can listen to Wretch music now just across all streaming platforms, yeah, with the first album on Bandcamp and...
Well, Tirades is on Spotify.
Yep.
The film clip we originally recorded for a Tirades single, which was a fuck ton of hate, was pulled down off every single thing we ever put it on. It was pulled down because of content.
Wow.
So we rejigged that. So that's on... You just type in Wretch, fuck ton of hate, it'll come up on YouTube. Same with the new film clip we just released for this album, this Survival of the Rotten album, called Blood in the Water. That's on there as well, thanks to Benji. Benji and his wife actually filmed the entire Wretch film clip using their phones in Duncan's jam space. So if you haven't seen it, it's a really cool clip. They did a great job. Benji's wife was awesome. We've got a Bandcamp as well. I can't remember we'll put the link in. I'm not going to say it. We'll put the link in.
Yeah. I think I know the one.
Digital copies of the first EP, The Purveyors of Senseless Violence. Yep. You can get the first album, Because You're Worthless, and you can get Tirades on there. And after pre-release of Survival of the Rotten is taken care of, you'll be able to grab it on there as well.
Hell yeah. All right, you heard it from the man himself. That's it for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me today, Bob, and giving us such awesome information in that small space of time. I can't wait to hear the new album and just rock out and maybe break some stuff. Is that the kind of feel it's going to give me, or?
You know what? I just want people to be uneasy. That's all I want. I just want people going, oh. I just want a little bit of, oh. Yeah, excellent. There's a song in there in particular I think that's gonna make people feel like that. So that's
great. This is the Home Recorded Music Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Keep rocking, keep rolling, rah.